Deputy Speaker withdraws his resignation. Parliamentary sessions heat up today as well. 2 MPs removed from the House. Pakistan's top court rules against Imran Khan, bringing his ouster closer. Heavy showers expected tomorrow.
Leader of the opposition Sajid Premadasa says a no-confidence motion against the government will be tabled in Parliament. He emphasized that a public referendum should be held in order to avoid a motion of no confidence. He called on for the executive presidency to be abolished. The opposition leader said if the government fails to take these measures, the opposition has no other choice but to table a motion of no confidence against the government as per the provisions of the Constitution of Sri Lanka.
අපිට සිද්ධ වෙනවා ව්‍යවස්ථාමය ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයකට විශ්වාස භංගයකට ප්‍රවේශ වෙන්න. ඒක බොහොම පැහැදිලි. ඒ තුල ඔව් ඒක ගේන්න. හරි හරි. නෑ මෙහෙමයි කරු කතානායකතුමනි. මෙහෙමයි කරු කතානායකතුමනි. ඒක ගේන්න. ඉතින් ඒක ගේන්න. ඒක දෙයක් කියනවා 225ට කරුණා කරලා ඔබතුමන්ලාගේ යුතුයකමක් තියෙනවා. මං හිතනවා ඔබතුමන්ලා පැරෂූට් එකෙන් නෙවෙයි ආවේ. මහජන මතයෙන් ආවේ. ඒකත් අමතක කරන්න හොඳ නෑ. දැන් හැමෝටම අමතක වෙලා 69 ලක්ෂයක් ඡන්දෙ දුන්නු ජනාධිපතිවරයා. 68 ලක්ෂයක් ඡන්දෙ දුන්නු ආණ්ඩුව. ඒකත් සමහරකට අමතක වෙලා. එහෙනම් මතක තියාගන්න තමුන්නාන්සලා පැරෂූට් එකෙන් නෙවෙයි ආවේ. ගහෙන් කඩන් වැටුණා නෙවෙයි. තමුන්නාන්සලා ආවේ ජනසම්මතවාදෙන් ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදෙන්.
Although a debate is supposed to be held with regard to the discussions between the IMF and the Sri Lankan government, the parliament took a heated turn over many other topics today.
I have already delivered my letter of resignation to the President on the 5th of April and made sure to deliver a copy to you as well. When the SLFP members met him that evening, the same day, the President strongly rejected my resignation. His undeniable request was that during a time of crisis such as this, the people's mandate must be respected and those in power have to fulfill their duties. As a party that respects democracy, the SLFP accepted his request. Honourable Speaker, considering all of this, I decided to remain in my position as Deputy Speaker, but that was under 2 conditions. The first being, I will only retain my post till the end of April with the hopes that the people in this country who in their genes have cemented a 70-year-old democracy will find ways to settle this issue. The second is that since the 5th of April, I will not use any privileges offered to the Deputy Speaker, and if I do so, order the Auditor General to charge me for the relevant fees.
Speaker Mahinda Abewardena ordered to remove SLPP MP Janaka Tisakutiarachi and SJB MP Chaminda Vijayasiri from the House for disturbing the proceedings of the parliamentary session this morning.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරුට පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් 15 දෙනෙක් 16 දෙනෙක්
15 to 16 police officers have been assigned for parliamentarians. Some MPs are given STF protection as well. We don't know the reason behind this. It has been revealed that 15 police officers are deployed at MP Tisakutiarachi's house. It was mentioned on Facebook. Are these MPs shouting here with police protection? Do not allow MPs to use their privileges to protect the assets that were stolen from the people. You must look into this, Honourable Speaker. When protests took place recently, police protection was... Honourable Speaker, everyone is watching today's proceedings. If we are doing something, we will have to do it right, or else let us postpone. If required, adjourn the proceedings for 5 more minutes and come back after speaking to you. We can't leave this place if we act in this manner.
The Speaker addressed the House thereafter.
අද දිනේ
At a time when an important debate is taking place, it is regretful to see the way these two MPs behave. Also, it was unpleasant. As a result, based on Standing Order number 79, I am deciding to suspend the two MPs from attending the rest of the day's proceedings.
Speaking at a media briefing today, leader of the Jatika Jana Balawegaya, Anura Kumara Desanayake, said the people's struggle will continue until the president resigns.
Despite
the people's protests happening in many places, this government has said the president will not resign. What does this mean? It proves that this government is not paying attention to the most basic slogan the people are chanting. Therefore, the protests happening against the government must be increased. They should not be stopped no matter what. One person has disregarded the mandate of the entire population. State institutes and factories are not functioning. Schools are closed. Farmers are suffering without fertilizer for the yellow cultivation season. Despite all of this, one person is holding on to power, allowing this situation to continue. Therefore, the people have a right to voice their objection towards him. He must be pressurized more. It should come to a point where these protests should force him to step down from power. As a Jatika Jana Balawegaya, we will give our fullest support to these protests. Moreover, we too have organized protest rallies because it is abundantly clear that such a selfish leader would never develop our country. We must also be cautious because the government has initiated plans to incite violence through these protests. We saw how a bus in Mirihana was set ablaze right in front of the police. We can see these in certain pictures and videos. The government has still been unable to arrest the person who torched the bus. What does this prove? It proves the government sent its violent groups into protests and created such a clash between the police and the army. We have received a lot of information regarding plans to incite violence in these protests.
In some news from the political crisis in Pakistan, Prime Minister Imran Khan said he will continue to fight after the Supreme Court declared the government's decision to dissolve the assembly unconstitutional. The Prime Minister is expected to address the nation today.
The Supreme Court yesterday overturned a move by PM Khan to block a parliamentary vote seeking to oust him. Imran Khan's coalition lost its majority in the National Assembly last week, but he avoided being dismissed when the Deputy Speaker blocked a no-confidence motion against him and the President dissolved Parliament and ordered fresh elections. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has hailed Pakistan's Supreme Court's decision to restore the National Assembly after it declared the government's decision to dissolve the Assembly unconstitutional.
Many protests organized by the people against the current government are taking place today as well.
A group of lawyers engaged in a protest opposite Mount Lavinia courts demanding the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. A group of lawyers also engaged in a protest opposite the Minuangola court complex demanding the government to resign.
Another protest demanding the government to resign was staged by the people in Pokunavita, Horana. Meanwhile, a religious ritual was organized in Akmi manner against the current government and the president. The Gaul branch of the Government Medical Officers Association said the lives of people are at risk due to the shortage of medicines in the country. A protest organized by the staff of the Putlam Base Hospital was held yesterday evening opposite the hospital. expatriates in Italy also staged a protest in Venice. Sri Lankans living in Italy organized this protest under the theme "Let's Save the Motherland from Corrupt Politicians."
News First with the people.
Special transport services will be launched today for the convenience of those travelling to their hometowns for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year.
Deputy General Manager of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, Panduka Swarnahansa, said a special bus service has been launched from today. Superintendent of Railways, Gamini Senaviratna, said several special trains have been added for operations ahead of the upcoming festive season. Director General of the National Transport Commission, Nilan Miranda, said a program has been launched to refuel long-distance buses from the Makumbura and Bastian Mawata bus station to ensure continuous operation of bus services.
A seminar organized by the Centre for Policy Alternatives, or the CPA, was held today. A research report titled Human Rights and Democracy in Sri Lanka was also unveiled at the event.
Addressing the event, former Speaker Karu Jayasuriya raised concerns on the government's majority in Parliament.
A monetary bill will be moved in Parliament in the coming days, and if that is not passed, the salaries of government sector employees cannot be paid. Moreover, we do not know about the government's power. The newspapers are reporting the government still have 117 votes in favour of it, while some say the number is much lower than that. There's an urgent need to resolve these issues.
We have used our mandate or the power of vote to send a group of people who cannot even pronounce the word democracy correctly. We are paying the price for this today.
Despite the protests carried out by the general public, fuel and diesel shortages are still being reported in the country.
Diesel stocks were issued at the filling station in Mavanalla today. Long queues were seen at two other filling stations in Mavanalla to purchase fuel. Long queues were observed at filling stations since earlier this morning in Dehiyattakandiya and Sandunpura to purchase fuel. Diesel stocks were received by the cooperative filling station in Kantale after 5 days. A tense situation was reported after fuel was issued in cans. The prevailing gas crisis in the country has not been resolved yet. People were seen in long queues to purchase gas cylinders today as well. People stayed in queues since earlier this morning to purchase gas at a gas distribution centre in Anuradhapura. Our correspondent noted gas cylinders were distributed at 8 a.m. today. Long queues were seen this morning at the Badulla town to purchase domestic gas cylinders.
The Ministry of Energy says $52 million worth of payment for a ship carrying 37,500 metric tons of diesel owned by Singapore's Vitol company was settled. The ship had been anchored in international waters for 16 days. According to the Energy Ministry, a sum of around 92 million rupees would have to be paid in demurrage cost given the delay to settle the payment. The diesel shipment will be unloaded this afternoon. Meanwhile, two other fuel tankers are currently anchored in international waters due to the inability to open letters of credit to settle the due payments for the shipments. The Energy Ministry further noted that a ship carrying 30,000 metric tons of furnace oil required to run thermal power plants has also reached Sri Lankan waters as of now. Another ship carrying 35,000 metric tons of jet fuel is also scheduled to reach Sri Lanka on the 15th of this month. The Ministry of Energy said there are sufficient stocks of petrol to meet the local demand.
Issuing a weather advisory, the Met Department said that due to the low-level atmospheric disturbance to the east of the country, the showery condition is expected to enhance over the most parts of the island till this Sunday. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places over most parts of the island. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in central, Sabaragamu and Uva provinces and in Kalutara, Galle and Matara districts. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places elsewhere. The United Nations General Assembly has voted to suspend Russia from the organization's leading human rights body. This is amid allegations that its soldiers killed civilians while retreating from the region around Ukraine's capital.
The United States-initiated resolution yesterday achieved the two-thirds majority of the United Nations General Assembly voting members required to pass, with 93 votes cast in favor and 24 against. 58 countries abstained, but their votes did not count towards the final tally. The vote, which makes Moscow the first permanent member of the UN Security Council to ever have its membership revoked from any United Nations body, was immediately welcomed by Kyiv but criticized by Moscow. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said on Twitter, quote, "War criminals have no place in UN bodies aimed at protecting human rights. Grateful to all member states which supported the United Nations General Assembly resolution and chose the right side of history," unquote. For his part, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov expressed regret about the decision. In an interview with foreign media, Peskov said, quote, "We are sorry about that and we will continue to defend our interests using every possible legal means," unquote.
It goes without saying that these are difficult, challenging times for ordinary Sri Lankans, more so for those already living below the poverty line. The rising cost of living has affected almost everyone, especially low-income families in rural Sri Lanka. With the Sri Lankan New Year around the corner, Gammadda launched its Aurudu Smiles initiative, in which needy families will be given a pack of food provisions to help them tide over these difficult times. While it is impossible to help everyone, Gammadda decided that it would do what it can and is thankful to the kind hearts who spontaneously supported this cause. Starting today, the packs of provisions will be delivered throughout the island through the Gammadda network. Gammadda, by the people, for the people. And that's a wrap of this edition of Lunchtime News. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Azra Hassan. Take care.